Well, welcome to another episode of Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, show number 111. We'll be getting started here shortly. We're just going to check the stream, make sure that's running good, and then we'll go from there. I see the rotating circle.
Well, that's always a good sign.
Oh, did we lose you again, Chris? Or just
what? Oh, is my video gone?
Yeah.
Shoot. I'll fix it.
Okay. We'll be getting started here shortly. Very cool. So the feed is up and running. All right. And anyone that wants to join in on the live show, you can go to podnutz.com/live and watch the show from there. Anybody that wants to be in the chat room, there is a chat on the webpage also that you can just sign in and be a part of the chat. Woo! So, and obviously I said that first part for people that listen to this podcast afterwards. Anyways, we do this every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. All right.
Ish.
We've got the stuff back. Let me start the official recording. Not that YouTube's not official, but okay. All right, you guys all set? Ready to go?
Yep.
Alrighty, here we go. Welcome to Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, episode 111. I am Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Part of the reason we do this show is for you guys to be able to call in, and so we can answer your questions live on the air to the best of our abilities. I know I'm getting emails from a lot of people. We would also, I'd just like to say, anybody that wants a certain subject or something talked about, feel free to, check into the app and all that kind of stuff, or check into the, what we're doing. So I appreciate that. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. They're saying there's a little bit of a mic problem. All right. Everything's good there. I think we're okay.
I think Freddie's having a mic problem. I think that's what that is.
Let me go ahead and introduce the co-host. We have Chris Carruthers from Remote Sport Tech Team. How you doing, Chris?
Pretty good, Jeff. Feeling a lot better. How are you?
I'm thankful for that. Yeah, you looked. Chris was a trooper. He was going to try to be on the show last week, and he just looked like complete and utter garbage.
Yeah, I had the flu, which was a great time to have the flu.
Yeah, no, not so much. So yeah, bad. Not a real good time of year for that type of stuff. But I'm glad you look a lot better, and I'm glad you're able to, just be with us today.
Thank you.
And also, we have with us Rob Berger from SoHoTechColumbus.com. How you doing, Rob?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Hey, appreciate you taking the time out on a Sunday afternoon and coming on the show with us. And I know you had sent me an email, and we got a couple things we're going to talk about, but just appreciate the time. So let's start the show off with, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about emails. Well, I'm going to read some emails. All right. So we've been getting some, we've been getting some pretty good emails from people, and really excited and glad that people are getting the, the information out there, and it's helping them. So here we have from one listener. We have, and there's no name on this one, unfortunately, but it says, "Hi, I'm a frequent listener of your podcast. I'm looking for a mentor of sorts to help me get a computer repair service going. Is this something you can help me with? Or can you refer me to someone else? I would greatly appreciate it. Please let me know. Thanks. No name." I do have an email address, and I did send him an email back and let him know that, what I would do is I would go back and listen to the Podnutz daily shows. Even the old ones have a lot of good relevant information in there, and also this show. You can get a lot of information for what's going on out in the computer repair field just listening to this content. And I said I'm always more than willing to answer emails. I'm not sure what part of the country he's in or anything like that, so all I had was an email address from him. Second email is from, "Hello, my name is Raul, and I'm 17 years old. I just want to say thank you so much for your Podnutz podcast on YouTube. It has helped me so much. I want to start my own computer repair service, and I'm currently studying to take the CompTIA A+ certification in a couple weeks. Your podcast has taught me some valuable lessons that I will follow in order to be a good local repairman for family members and friends. I just want to say thank you, and I really wish you guys get more viewers. I will be showing this to my computer repair teacher at school. Thank you, Raul. Well, thank you, Raul. Appreciate that. Yeah, this is what we're here to do. We're here to help and, bring more information in the computer repair field, things that we go through, things that other people go through, just to try to help. And, there's a lot of room for improvement in the computer repair field, and I definitely know that I haven't learned everything that I need to know yet, and there's, a lot of things that I am going to continually keep learning and become a better tech for it. So hopefully we can pass out on that information as we're doing it and as we learn from others that are doing it in the field too, because I don't have all the answers. I'll just put that up right up front. So third email we have is, and this has kind of got a question in it, and I'm not sure if anybody off the top of their head will have an answer. I didn't. It says, because there's not as much information as I would like. It says, hi, I have a Mac Pro. I live in the UK. The Mac Pro boots up fine, but no USB on the Mac works for mouse or keyboard control. Any ideas? Cheers, Dave. Now, my initial thought was, if he's talking about the USB ports are not working just for the mouse and keyboard, that could be one issue. That could actually be a driver issue. But I'm not real familiar with the Mac operating system. I know how to get around it and do what I need to do. Now, if he's talking about the USB ports aren't working, obviously I'm going to go for a hardware solution at that point and say that the USB ports on the motherboard are bad, or it could even be just a driver for the USB ports.
Or they're disabled.
Or okay, that's something I didn't think of. They could be disabled. You guys got anything else to help with that, to kind of point them in the right direction? Nothing?
Not with a Mac. I mean, Mac doesn't use a registry like Windows does, right? So the whole
Right.
operating system works differently. And, I mean, either the USB ports are not working or disabled, or the keyboard and mouse are not working or, need to be set up again. But I'm trying to think of how the drivers work on a Mac, and it's been a long time since I've had to deal with a problem like that.
Right. Well, I mean,
That's a good one.
they still have an installer of sorts for, like a mouse and keyboard. I would imagine the operating system in today's day and age of modern operating systems, your operating systems are going to run and load most of the generic drivers that you need, whether it be, Mac, Windows or Linux. That stuff's going to be pretty automated as far as that stuff goes. So, but yeah, those are the few suggestions that I can think of. For that type of thing. Okay, and this is kind of a long email. It deals with a couple things. One's going to be for another show, but I'm going to read it here anyways, just to get your guys' feedback on it. It says, hi, I had a couple of thoughts for the shows. Is there a program or a site that will automate the process of checking, finding the most current, downloading, and installing drivers? I know that there are tools offered that appear to be rogueware, but it doesn't appear to be that popular a topic among tech. This is useful in many cases, I am sure, but especially when computers, laptops are being recommissioned for a nonprofit when they've received donations of multiple units. And he's got a second part. This is from Chris Ferguson. I'll read the second part in a minute. The first question, I will tell you, I use driver packs. And I think the latest one that I have is like Driver Packs 2013, and basically I downloaded off of a BitTorrent site. Basically, these driver packs, which they are made by a person from Russia, and I put them onto a disk, and I also have them on my USB drive. Now, it used to be when driver packs first came out way back when, what would happen is that you would download the program, and you would install it on the computer, and it wanted to install all this other stuff on there. So now they have where you can at least uncheck the box and just download and install the driver without actually installing the program. I will tell you, I only use usually the the Ethernet driver is the only one I install generally, because what I found most of the time is either with Windows doing their automatic updates, or things like driver packs and stuff like that. When it installs the drivers, there's usually a driver that for some reason will break the system. And it could be a video driver. It could be I just had one last week where the Wi-Fi controller driver actually made the system unbootable, believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and it was ugly. So I was able to go back in and kind of reset it and pull it out of there. That's not the point. The point is I use those disks for one specific purpose, to get me online using a wire. Once I do that, I will go to the manufacturer's website, and actually I would just download the drivers from there. That's how I do things. Chris, how about you?
I don't automate drivers unless I am automating them through, say, okay, so NVIDIA, right? I have NVIDIA video cards in most of my computers. So I install the NVIDIA software. What's that?
Because they're the best.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Anyway,
go ahead.
So I have the NVIDIA software installed, right? So it pops up and says, hey, you got a new video driver, and you just install it. I don't like the idea of automating driver installations, so I don't do it. Because for exactly the same reason that you said, a network card driver, or some driver that can knock you offline or stop the system from functioning properly, is not something that I want automatically done for myself or my clients. Like, I could fix mine, but that's going to cost money to your clients, right? So,
right.
I just be careful with that stuff.
Does the email say that it's a specific brand? It's going to be a Dell product or an HP product or something like that?
No, it doesn't. I think they're just looking for an all-around solution. Rob, so what do you do in your shop?
Well, that's why I was asking about the manufacturer. I agree with Chris. I don't like doing an automation, and I'm doing it one at a time for various customer machines. So in that case, I would go to the support.dell website to match up the system service tag, or go to the HP Assistant to download drivers. And if I'm still not confident that that's going to give me what I need up to date, then I'll go to the manufacturer website. If it's not something like NVIDIA that's going to tell me there's an update available.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing, when you're using driver, what I have used driver packs for in the past, I haven't had it in a while, but one of the things I used to do was I would actually, if I had a weird driver that was like a PCI communication driver, but it wasn't the Ethernet, wasn't the Wi-Fi, wasn't anything, I couldn't figure out what in the world the thing was. And one of the things I would do is I would actually use driver packs, figure out which one it is, because the problem is when you go to the Dell HP websites, or any manufacturer websites, even though you put in a service code, it will still give you 4 variations of a Wi-Fi controller or an Ethernet controller or whatever, because I don't know why they do this. There's a service tag on the machine that says, here's what's in this machine. Yet, on our generic website, here's what we're going to do. Even though you've given us a service tag, we're still going to give you multiples of drivers that you have to install. And it becomes a big pain if you're going through those and you go, well, I don't know what this one is. I don't know what that one is. Usually when you have a chipset driver, you'll have one, something like that. So that's what I've done in the past, just to see which one it is, and then I'll go to the manufacturer's website and actually, install the proper driver to fix whatever problem I had.
Yeah, Windows Update tends to, like Dell and HP and all them, they feed their drivers into Windows Update, so, you just run that after you do the initial installation.
Well, that's a good point, except that's where I ran into a problem last week, is that the driver that I installed was from Windows Update, and that's what made my system unbootable.
So it's a Jeff problem.
Well, it's a customer problem. I don't have these problems because I build my own machines, but and I can't even remember the name of the manufacturer or which one it was. It surprised me. I was like, because I've done the same thing you've always done, Chris. I installed those updates. Now, in this particular case, what I did was once I uninstalled it and reinstalled the one from the website, I went back in and I had to hide that update so it won't automatically let them know, even though it's an optional update, that is even there unless they look hard enough.
Yeah. And what customer does, really?
None. That's why they're bringing it to me.
Yeah. See, problem solved.
There we go. Rob, you got anything more to add to the driver update issues?
No, that happens so infrequently with me that it's a one-off, and I agree that when you load up the Dell page and it'll give you 3 or 4 possible network drivers, that it's kind of hit and miss. If you don't know what's inside, you're not going to rip the machine open to look on the board. Just download the first one, see what works, and it says no hardware installed. All right, fine. It's the next one. Go to the the Intel or the Atheros or whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a real good point, because that is the one nice thing. When you load a driver that is not needed, generally, not always, but generally, they won't even load up. They'll say, you don't have this piece of hardware on here, we're not going to load the driver. So it just fails out, and then, like you said, you can just move on to the next one. That's a very good point. All right, I think we're going to move ahead, and we have basically the second part of Chris's email is, he says, I'm sure this one would be for Scott Moulton, which I am going to bring up on my hard drive died. I'm wondering if a laptop hard drive with adapter would provide any advantage if a desktop hard drive were being replaced. I am thinking that with all else being equal, storage, cost, speed, etc., the nod would go to the smaller drive. I would expect it to be longer lasting due to it being built to resist vibration more and have less mass spinning. I have no evidence to support my theory, but thought it might be worth some discussion. Thank you for the quality shows. Keep up the good work, Chris Ferguson. So this is off the top of my head. I have nothing to back this up whatsoever. Here's my thought process. My understanding is there is a couple safety features built into the laptop hard drives which made them, they used to be more expensive. Now not so much. They're pretty much equal. They're on par with regular desktop hard drives. There is a mechanism in there that is supposed to lock the heads when it feels like the drive is falling. So in other words, somebody knocks the laptop off, it's supposed to lock the head up so you don't get that the head actually scraping the disks inside. So that's one. Is that ever going to happen in a desktop? No, probably not. Are they going to be more robust from that? I don't know, because I still get ones that are dropped in the hard drive's toast. I'm able to get the information off, but that's about it. I still have to replace the drive because it is damaged in some sort of fashion. So I don't know if that stuff actually works 100% of the time, but I know that's the way they're supposed to work. The other thing is, here's the thing. Anytime you take anything that you make it smaller, you're going to create more heat. So when you're creating more heat, to me, electronically, I think that's going to make more wear and tear on that hard drive. So I'm not sure that it would be a good solution for inside of a desktop as a replacement. I'm not saying you can't. I mean, people do. I've got one in my bench machine behind me because I just had one laying around and I needed to store some info. And I don't even have it mounted in there. It's basically a throwaway drive. I don't really care what happens to it. So that's
but you can manage the heat though. Right? You
absolutely.
can manage and that's the thing is it's not you can't it's not a good idea because it's going to be hotter. Well, yeah, but then you just upgrade your cooling system. Like put an extra fan in there, go to liquid cooling, whatever you need to do, just manage the heat.
Right. No, absolutely. But I think the question comes down to, is this something that would there be a benefit to it? In other words, what he's asking is are these smaller hard drives better than the desktop hard drives, or the laptop hard drives better than the desktop hard drives?
I don't think so. I don't think that they're better as far as anything really. That's just the size that they made them so that they can fit into a laptop.
Right.
Right. I would stick with the normal size drives unless you're looking at solid state or whatever. Then you're just going to wind up with a smaller drive anyway.
And there's no moving parts on a solid state, so that's really
it's not, at that point there's just no point. But no, I would go with a normal size drive just because of convenience, right? If you're going with a laptop size drive into a desktop, now you have to get a mount for it and you have to make sure that you're setting everything up properly, and there's just no reason for it. As far as I know, anyway. I mean, my word's not gospel here. I could be wrong.
Seems like it's a long
you got that
way.
on the recording, right?
Long way to go. Seems like it's a long way to go. That if he doesn't know what the benefits are going to be, and he's going to try to mount it in there, and then he's going to have to worry about cooling. How about he does the math and gets back to us? Run a couple of drives and put them on some stress tests, and run them for a few hundred or a few thousand hours, and let us know.
Yep.
If we want to try to build some Frankenstein machines and see what's better,
Yeah.
Put it up on Reddit. They did the math, and let us know how it turns out.
And the thing is, I don't think you're going to see a difference between the two drives. And again, this is one of the things where I'm actually going to take this to My Hard Drive Died, which I'll be doing in mid-January. And this is one of the emails we're going to talk about. And Scott will be able to give me a much better, more intelligent response than what I've had.
Thanks, Jeff.
Because I'm talking off the top of my head of what I think or what I know, but I don't have any details about what's actually going on in the side of those hard drives. And the platters, are the platters being smaller? Are they more susceptible to crashing or whatever? I don't know. But my thought process is, I know when I'm on my phone, and if I'm doing something, heavy duty on my phone, the phone gets pretty hot to the touch. And so to me, I would like to have a little bit more space to be able to bleed the heat off and stuff like that. Or you can do Chris's option and just run turbo fans and, make it all loud as all get out in your office.
It doesn't have to be loud. Look, hey, I can't hear mine, and I'm sitting next to it.
I know.
And it's like 4 feet tall.
I have 3 240 millimeter fans in my case right now, and you can't hear them.
Yeah. Nope.
So, no, I understand. All right. So now that we've exhausted that, anybody got anything else on this? I think we've exhausted all the subject on that. Let me move down to the last email. Get it here. All right. This one is a little bit, again, this is going to be one for My Hard Drive Died, but I wanted to discuss it on here because this is stuff that I think we all have done at one time or another. It says, hi, I thoroughly enjoy your Podnutz podcast and always find nuggets of useful info in each one. I have posted the following in the Podnutz forums, but I'm not sure how active it has been lately. I was hoping you might be able to help. I was reinstalling Windows 8.1 on a PC that was originally set up as a dual boot with XP. Why? I don't know. There were some games that did not work in Windows 8. That's why I decided to throw that in. To make a long story short, the XP partition was no longer needed. Deleting the contents of the XP partition and trying to expand the Windows 8 partition gave me a non-bootable machine. So I proceeded to do a fresh Win8 install and use the entire hard drive. In the setup for install, I deleted all the previous partitions and inadvertently deleted the partition on a second hard drive that contained all the data, pictures, music, documents, etc. Yes, ouch. I have ESUS Partition Master as well as Rakuva, but the deleted partition is not available to select to scan for the deleted files. I have not done anything to the drive since deleting the partition. So if anything is still there, it has not been overwritten. That's good. The drive shows up in a Windows Computer Management, but says the drive must be initialized before Logical Disk Management can access it. Choices are MBR or GPT. But I am not sure if this is where I should proceed. I do not want to do anything that may hinder any possibility of recovering data. Hope someone sees my post and can provide some insight and solution. Thanks, Jack. So I sent an email back to Jack with the help of Door-to-Door Geek, Steve McLaughlin, the owner of this fine network, and basically we kind of talked a little bit, and he said a couple things. Try to use test.org, which is a program, or PhotoRec, which we've talked about on both those subjects on My Hard Drive Died, and hopefully they might be able to get you past that place where you can't see the partition. It's not a guarantee because obviously everything wants to see a partition. The other thing I said, and not that I recommend this, but when a partition is written, it is written on the I think either the front or the it's written on a portion that normally the regular data goes. I can't remember if it's on the front edge or the back edge or whatever, but the chances are it's not going to, if at all, overwrite much data repartitioning the drive, as far as I remember. Now, with that being said, then you should be able to get most of your data back. But I'm pretty sure that Scott Moulton would say there are ways to do this that are non-damaging to the drive whatsoever, so that he can get all his data back. Chris?
So, yeah, I'm going to jump in on that. I don't know if you can see how uncomfortable I am in my seat right now listening to this.
I know it.
Yeah, look, so data recovery and issues like this, I have a very, very strict rule that I go by, and that's that I do not specialize in this. Very clearly, none of us do. So we shouldn't be doing work like this. This is the type of thing that's very, very dangerous to start playing with. And every time you spin up that disk, you always have that chance that some of the unpartitioned space is going to get written over because the system doesn't think it's in use. So my advice is to unplug the drive, stop playing with it, and get it to somebody who actually deals with this type of thing. Send it to a data recovery specialist. Yes, you're going to have to, come out of pocket on this one because you can't charge the client for something that you did. And this is going to be a great learning experience on, making sure that you have proper backups of everything that you're working on and all that junk. But no, I wouldn't touch this anymore. I'd be paying the money to send it to a data recovery specialist and make sure it's done right.
Well, just to be clear, this is his own drive. This is his own computer system.
Oh, this is his drive. Okay, I missed that part.
Yep.
Okay, so then, okay, if it's my own drive, I have everything backed up anyway, which, as a technician, all of us should have a backup. So
You're kidding, right?
Yeah, this could be a great... Hey, look,
Right.
I'm going to be a jerk for a couple of minutes here, and you're going to have to just deal with that, Jeff. But really, this is what it comes down to. You should have a backup anyway, so if it is your drive, this is a great learning experience. If this was a client's drive, I'd be sending it out. I wouldn't even be playing with it anymore.
Yes. I agree. I 100% agree with Chris's assessment of that. But yeah, being your own drive, I would definitely play. It depends on how much the information is worth to you, and to most people, it's not worth $800. I'll say that.
If you get a good partnership, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but there is a company out of Markham, which is close to Toronto. And I do barely any hardware repair at all, but I had a system here that needed a data recovery, and I set up a partnership with them. A very basic data recovery like that, there's no mechanical failures or anything. It's like $200-300. So if you can align yourself with a company to do that, then you're not going to be spending all that much money to get it done.
I want to mention one thing from the chat room. Marvin B just mentioned that. He put a link in the chat, partition-recovery.com. So if you guys look that up, there's probably some good information. From what I can remember, it's been a long time since I've had to actually recover a partition, and it was on my own system. But literally, it was probably back in the early 2000s is the last time I've had to do something like this in particular.
But it was on XP, right?
Yes, and XP just worked wonderfully well, and yes, it was on XP.
He's got to look at this as a learning opportunity. It's kind of that crisis moment that when you're working with a client and you ask them if they have a backup and they say no, it's hard to make the point of it's important to have a backup until you really need it. Because he really needs it now.
Yeah.
So this is where he needs to, be using his Carbonite or his Backblaze or his Offsite with, all the various people who resell that, or his own Acronis external drive or something like that. But this is maybe one of those hard lessons to learn where he goofed up on his own data and he can test out his own recovery process now.
Yeah. That's completely valid. The other thing that he's hopefully going to learn from this experience, and other people hearing this story is going to learn from this, is that if you're working on somebody's system and you're messing with partitions, you should be making a image of that drive before you start playing with it. And I understand this was the secondary.
Careful.
Yeah, and I understand that this is the secondary drive, and I personally, I wouldn't have thought of making an image of the secondary drive. And the first response that anybody, including myself, are going to have is, well, I wouldn't make a mistake like that. Well, somebody did. right? So how that's a really quick mouse click to mess up. So.
Well, yeah, not only that, but here's the thing. So back in the day when I had dual hard drives, which unfortunately, since you guys talked me into an SSD, I do now. But anyways,
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Whatever. Anyways, so what I would do is when I had two spinning hard drives, is when I installed the operating system, I would unplug the other one or two drives so that I didn't go in and mess those up, and I would install my operating system and go from there. So it was a step in my process to keep me protected. Don't have that on the system while you're trying to do an install, because guess what? I'm almost 100% sure this is a very common mistake that almost all of us can say, I've done it at one time or another. That's why I build in a procedure to do it differently now, so I can avoid that.
Which is exactly why you can easily say, well, I mean you can say that, hey, listen, maybe we should be doing a full image before we start playing with this.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of a lot of technicians and a lot of shops where that's the first thing that they do is they either slave the drive onto something to make a copy, or they have a server or something that they back everything up to, and just do it first. It takes a little bit of time, but then you wind up running into a situation like this where, hey, now I can just restore and start over.
Exactly. So yeah, again, I look at this situation as, like you guys have said, a learning opportunity, and it's a great learning opportunity to figure out, okay, if this does ever happen to a customer's machine, can I get the information back? But yeah, something I'm guilty of, and I'm sure a lot of technicians, a lot of computer repair techs, if you have the time, I would say make some sort of image, whether you use a Cronus or FTK Imager or something along those lines, to make an image of the drive before you start messing around with it. I've never, unless the drive, I always check the drive now to see if it's failing. That's the first thing I always do. If the drive's failing, the first thing I do is back up the information. I am guilty of, I don't make a backup right away, because I figure even if viruses mess the machine up, and I delete, and it's not bootable, I can usually slave it to something and get the information off. Pictures, photos, stuff like that. Now, one of the things I've never really thought about, and I don't know if this is going to become a thing in the future, I've never really thought that, I actually had to thought the other day because I thought I did it by accident. If there are photos or things that do get infected, is there, and I'm running a scan of sorts on there to try to fix that computer and get the viruses off, and it deletes those photos, even if they're legit photos or whatever, that could be an issue too. So I'm kind of rethinking my process of whether I should back that stuff up right away, do a scan on it, figure out if everything's good, and then go ahead and do my virus removal and stuff like that. So it's just something to think about.
And I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a bad idea to do the backup first.
Right.
Something like a virus removal, and this is, it's the same situation where I'm thinking, well, it's a virus removal. Why am I going to do a backup before a virus removal? I do most of my virus removals remotely, so a backup isn't really feasible. But if I had something in the shop, okay, fine. So I didn't do a virus removal. I started, or I didn't do a backup. I started doing the virus removal. Oh, turns out, it's a boot sector virus. I take that off. Now the computer doesn't start. Oh, crap. I really wish I had made a backup.
Well, now let me ask you this, Chris, though. Even when you're doing remote support, right, you're still, aren't you, in part of your process, you're making a restore point, aren't you?
Sure, yeah, restore point. Restore point's not really going to help me all that much if...
Well, what I'm saying is if something were to get, damaged or something like that, you still might be able to at least get back to the starting point, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, like I take precautions. I do restore points, and I check with the customer, say, hey, have you backed up all of your data? If they haven't, hey, maybe we should talk about doing a backup plan first. Sure. But not every customer wants to buy a backup plan. Not every customer has an external hard drive, so it's not the same thing. If you have it in the shop, you can take the image. Right. What I'm saying is that I can't really take the image when I'm doing it remotely. It's not feasible.
Right. But so I guess for different scenarios, there are different ways of doing it. You're right. And I'm not that I'm ever going to run into this situation. It's just something that came across my mind when I was doing a virus removal here in the shop, versus, because, yeah, obviously, if I'm doing remote support, I'm not I'm not able to back that image up. So
Yeah.
Or it's not that I'm not able. It's I'm not able to easily do it. Or even set up a place where they can back it up. That type of thing. And so that's a good point, though. That is one of the questions that needs to be asked if you're doing any type of messing with a system. Hey, is the stuff on a computer backed up? I ask every customer, remote or not, is your stuff backed up? And if they tell me no, then I'm a little more cautious when I'm sitting there trying to diagnose the problems.
Customers lie, though. I would prefer to go off of the expectation that the customer doesn't back up whether they tell me
True.
they did or not. Right? Because, do you have a backup? Oh, yeah, I have a backup. But then you find out that, their backup was actually when they did a QuickBooks backup 6 months ago, and now they have to rebuild 6 months worth of QuickBooks data because they got hit by the crypto wall virus.
Right.
So you gotta. Every customer lies, I think, is the moral of that story.
And that's true. But here's the thing. But when you tell me the lie, and it turns out bad, then I don't feel bad.
I don't feel bad either, but that doesn't stop the customer from yelling at me. And that's the thing, right? Is that I'm not a cynical person, I promise. But this is it, right? You want happy customers. You want people who are going to come back. You want people who are not going to badmouth you. And there's going to be times when there's nothing that you could have done. There's no way that anything could have gone any better, and that customer is just angry because they're angry.
Yep.
But if the problem came up where I said, hey, do you have a backup, Mrs. Computer User? And she says yes. And then it turns out they don't have a backup, and I just fried everything trying to fix it. There's always that possibility, and it doesn't matter how many forms they filled out, and it doesn't matter how many times they say that they had a backup. If you had taken that image, then it wouldn't have been a problem, and it doesn't take that long to take an image. Right. So, I'm going to ask the customer, do you have a backup? Because if they say no, it's a great opportunity for me to upsell online backup services. It sets up an opportunity. Whereas if they say yes, I'm just going to assume that they don't have a backup anyway, but I'm not going to push the sale as hard.
See, I think I go a little more in depth. When somebody tells me that they've backed their data up, I say, okay, so what are you using for backup? And I kind of get a little more information that way, so that I'm able to assess, and then I tend to get more real answers once you start digging a little bit, and they go, well, I backed up all my important files on a USB flash drive, but you know what, I haven't backed anything up in a week, but it wouldn't really be that big a deal, but I do have the main stuff backed, that type of thing. So when people are telling me that stuff, I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. So at least it gives me a better idea. And like I said, as soon as I find, if I plug the thing in and the hard drive starts making a bunch of noise, or I get, my system sends something back that says it's not working correctly, Crystal Disk Info says, hey, there's errors on the drive. I pull the drive, back it up, and then I'll go, finish my repair. But I think what you're saying is error on the side of caution, and I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely.
I just know a lot of times, for us techs, we're thinking, that's a whole hour to image that drive. I don't know if I want to do that. So, or I don't even know if I would feel like pulling it out of the system. But that's a judgment call that you have to make on your own.
Yeah, it is. But you know what, though? That hour that it's going to take for that backup to happen, I'm sure there are other things that need to be done. Right, and so even the slowest person can say, well, you know what, I'm going to let this back up for the next hour. So I'm going to go and I'm going to jump on TechNibble or Podnutz, or I'm going to check out my website, see if there's anything that I need to do to, update it. Right, it's time management. This is something that you really should do. This is something that you should really take the time to do. So why don't you use that hour to do something else productive while you're waiting?
I agree with you 100%. I'm just being the naysayer. That I'm just telling you what people are thinking.
Be the naysayer. I love arguing with you.
Because that's just, because I know what everybody's thinking. That's how smart my brain is. No. Rob, weigh in on this. What do you do? What are your procedures? How do you avoid a lot of this?
I think it depends. I think you learn when it bites you in the bottom the first time, and you have to make that risk-reward determination of it, whether you're on site and you want to sit there for an hour to image a customer's machine, or if it's back in your shop and you can multitask with other activities. Luckily, I've had only one instance in my career where I was working on a user's machine and plugged into my adapter, and the adapter fried the drive, and I never even had a chance to make an image of it. And luckily, the user had nothing on the machine. He liked to play some games, and he had a basic Windows 7 installation. I think he liked some solitaire and some Freecell. But so I kind of came out lucky there. But I ended up buying a replacement hard drive at my own cost. I really didn't need to do the virus removal at that point because it was a brand new installation. But I spent the time doing the installation and doing all of his updates and doing all of that, which took a couple of hours. And I think it's a chance for goodwill because I didn't charge him for that. I actually didn't charge him for anything because I didn't really need to do the virus removal because I did an entire system removal by accident, and he gave me $100. So I gave it to him at no charge. I was going to eat the cost just out of goodwill and customer service, and he gave me money anyway. So I wasn't expecting it, and I was pleasantly surprised. But as soon as it happened, I called him and I let him know what happened, and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, and people will surprise you with something like that, and I can just about guarantee you that if he ever has another computer problem, you're the person he's going to call.
Yes, actually, I've done subsequent business with him as well since then.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's goodwill goes a long way. Doing the right thing and just being honest with your customers. We talked about that on the show before.
Sure.
Is there anything else in the whole hard drive diagnostic backup whatnot or we kind of hit everything? I think
you just have to decide if it's going to be part of your procedure or not, and
right.
If it is, make it part of your procedure, so that's in your checklist of, checking the drive status, or if you're doing some partition management, if that's something that you do frequently or infrequently, put it in your checklist so you remember what to do.
Yep. Yeah, and just make sure whatever your checklist is being followed by you and your staff, right? Because the last thing you want to do is have something in your checklist that you just skip because, I'm not going to take the time on this one.
Or you take the time and make a checklist up and then don't use it. Yeah. I won't say there's anybody I know like that except me. But that's it is nice to have a procedure in place and have that stuff. And I do have all those procedures. I don't always follow them. So thanks, Chris. I'm gonna try to get better at that.
Good job. That's what we're here for.
All right, let's move on to our next subject. That was all for the emails. Appreciate everybody's emails. I would encourage people to send emails into the show. We definitely, I will read them on the air, and I will not only send you a response back with my 2 cents, whether it be worthy or not, and I will bring it to the show to get other people's opinions on what we're talking about, and so that hopefully somebody else can learn from these different things. And we appreciate just the people saying, hey, thanks for what you're doing, because that makes me feel good that we're helping people out there, and that's really what this show is about. So with that, I think we're going to talk about time management. And if you guys remember, back when Rob Berger first came on the Podnutz Daily Show with me, he was talking, he had contacted me via email, and basically he was talking about an appointment system he uses on his webpage where people can go in and set their own appointments for open slots that he has to do business. And he sees those, and he gets the appointments, and then he's able to deal with the appointments. Now, since then, Rob has switched to another system. So I want to hear a little bit about that system from Rob, and then we'll kind of talk into the whole time management thing as far as doing computer repair.
All right, great. Oh, thanks, Jeff. I'm glad we can talk about that. That was kind of a nice segue. Originally I was using TimeTrade, which I talked about with you a few months ago, and I've recently discovered and posted some questions on TechNibble, but there weren't any replies, so I went ahead and started with the demo. I'm now trying Acuity scheduling, and what I like about that is that I'm able to create different appointment types. I'm a one-man shop, and I'm doing this in addition to my regular full-time job, so I can set the difference between on-site appointments as well as remote appointments. And you can see that if you go to the website and look at the calendar. They have a free demo if anybody is interested in that. But what I like about it is that I can schedule certain appointment slots for on-site, which I may be doing, on various days or on various weekends when I don't have other activities planned, either with other clients or personal activities. And the online remote support activities I can schedule differently. I can have those scheduled perhaps a little bit later in the evening where I don't have to be driving late at night. And it's kind of along the lines of the first software package that I liked, in that I don't have to do the work of when I'm talking with a customer on the phone. I don't have to go back and forth with, I'm available on this day and this time, and they say no, and then we go back and forth of, how about Tuesday? No. How about Wednesday? Yes. All right, 5 o'clock? Yes, that's great. Oh, wait, no, I have an appointment with my dog or whatnot. So I like the ability to have it schedule available there. And actually, when I talk with clients on the phone, either if I'm in the car or if I'm in a place where I can't get to my machine and I don't want to try to toggle back and forth between the call and my calendar on my phone, is I will direct them to the website. And I will then try to get them to go there so that they can self-service pick the date that works for them. And it's great. It's this one's a little bit more expensive. The package I'm on, I think it's about $20 a month, but I think about the time savings of not having to go back and forth with customers and find an appointment time that works best for them, and I think it's money well spent. Actually, it was nice over this long holiday weekend. I actually had 2 emails come in, and I saw the appointments show up on my calendar, and it was people who didn't need to call me. They had known from previous experience, or they just found it on the website from the last time I had talked with them. Go to the website and pick the date. So it's great that I didn't have to, it wasn't a chore, but it was great that those appointments came in automatically. So if anybody is interested in that kind of software, they have multiple packages available. You can do multiple configuration settings for multiple technicians, multiple overlapping, different schedules, different reminders. They have a text message reminder actually to the customer 24 hours beforehand. If you choose that, you can customize with an HTML message the welcome message or the appointment confirmation, not only for them but for you, and then also a variable number of days after the appointment, you can send them a thank you note. So it seems like a great product. I've been very happy with it. I've been using it for about a month now, and I don't have any affiliation with them. It's just a great product that I've found and have been happy with so far.
Well, that's a great idea. Is actually using using something that you don't have to necessarily be involved in. People can pick their own times when you have open slots, and it's in your calendar, and then you just go, hey, okay, I'm going here now, I'm going there, there on this day, I'm taking care of this business over here. And to me, it's something even before I'd never really thought about doing something like that, because I wanted to kind of be in control. But it makes a lot of sense. Here, go to my website, check this out, click on what you want, and then go from there.
Sure, they have ways that you can integrate different coupons and other products if you're going to be selling box products or other retail type products through the website, and then it can connect on the back end. I have it connected to my Gmail calendar, so whenever I have an appointment, whether I'm traveling or I have a family activity, as long as I'm sure to put that on my appointment, then that slot disappears from availability on the website. So it's great for me to know what's going on, so I can synchronize that with my personal calendar.
Very cool.
What was that service called?
It's called Acuity Scheduling, ACUITY scheduling. The one thing that I don't like is that in all of the email messages to the customer, not only for the initial appointment as well as changes or deletes, it always says at the bottom, powered by Acuity Scheduling. I'd like that to be a little bit more transparent and appear to come from me, but I guess they have to get their name in there as well. So that's okay. That's my only gripe with them, actually, to this point.
Apparently, I am spelling it wrong. Hey, Rob, do me a favor when you get a chance after the show. Zip me off a link to that.
Yeah, sure.
You got it? Okay, there we go. QDscheduling.com. Okay. That's what I was typing in wrong. Very good. All right, so Chris, what and now I know that you're doing remote support, you have a lot of scheduling that you do. So
Yes.
what do you use? Or how do you set your schedules up?
Outlook.
Of course you do.
Here's the thing. Because we're white label, I cannot put a schedule up for people to just schedule with us. Because as of right now, there is nothing written that would allow for the white label aspect of that. So we use Exchange. We have Exchange, and our calendar syncs between our phones and our Outlook, and that's it. We schedule directly with the customers. So, if we were to write our own software, then we would include something like that into the ticketing system itself, a lot like how Help Desk does it, except with the whole white label aspect in mind. So yeah, that's one of the weird things about us is that we are not the target market for any of these companies.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, as far as setting appointments and expectations, how do you go about doing that? Because even though I understand your white label and I understand that you're doing stuff for different repair shops, but you still have a process that you do to, not necessarily software. It could be a notepad and pen. I don't know, but what do you do as far as setting up expectations for the customers to get them to make sure that they're showing up to the appointments on time and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, that depends on the client. So what we try to do is we try to take a deposit from the customer so that they've put down money.
Okay.
And then that way they're saying, okay, listen, I'm committing to this appointment. A lot of my clients have a clause in the agreement forms, which they'll have us have the customers fill out, saying that, hey, we've set up this appointment, and if you don't give us notice, then we're going to charge you a $40 minimum for just having the appointment on the books. So that, and then we just put it in our Outlook calendar. Everything syncs. We've got it in there, and then we call the customer at the beginning of the appointment. So that's it. It's a pretty straightforward process. It takes 10 minutes. So yeah, I mean, 10 minutes per appointment could be saved. It could be if it could be automated. And yeah, anybody who has the opportunity to do it, if you're an Help Desk user already, there is built into the Help Desk a scheduling system, so you can actually put your scheduling up onto the website. The customer can set up their own appointments and all of that. Acuity looks really good. I'm on their website right now, and they offer a lot of this looks great. So I mean, anybody who can use it, it looks like they have a free trial. I'd at least do the free trial and check it out. Save yourselves some time.
Chris, how many employees do you have, and how do you handle overlapping appointments when you can multitask to do some jobs that don't require you to be hands-on? They just need to be running in the background.
Well, I mean, we have two technicians, including myself, and we each have access to each other's calendars so that we can schedule for each other. But what we tend to do is we don't tend to book overlapping appointments unless they are virus removals. And then what we'll do is we'll book the virus removal for an hour, but we will double book, let's say, a half hour in. Because A, they're flat rate services, and B, when you're a half hour into the virus removal, you're usually waiting for a scan at that point. But that's it. We don't do anything fancy for that.
Well, but that's a good point, because it's something I even as a single technician, something that I think about often is, how do you handle these things? But you're absolutely right. When you're remoted in, you're doing a virus removal, you're then available to either take a phone call, or even like you said before, do some paperwork or whatever. So that's good information to have. Now what about you, Rob? How do you make it so that you're not getting overwhelmed when it comes to that scheduling? I mean, obviously you set the times that you want to be open, and you just say, I'm open during this time. If something pops in there, I'm on it. Do you ever run into a problem where you would get too many customers, maybe too close back to back, or have you made adjustments over time, trying to think about how you're going to do that to keep it separated a little bit?
I handle that a couple of different ways. first off is I have all of my own appointments to be 2-hour blocks, even though most of my appointments, just historically, I've looked back, are an hour to an hour and a half. But there's, whether I'm on site or remote, there's some finishing administrative activities of, giving the customer the notes and kind of running through and making sure everything that I think is fixed is everything that they think is fixed, and then payment and concluding the whole session. So usually it's about probably an hour 15, hour 30 at that point. That gives me time, if I'm on site somewhere, to drive a half hour to the next location. So even though the appointments rarely take 2 hours or more, I make all of my appointments 2 hours in length, just so that I have enough time afterwards, if I have a next appointment, to get there or get to a place where I can do the remote work and prepare for it. For actually setting the appointments, I handle it just by, I set the times in my calendar of how late I want to do an appointment. So for an on-site appointment during the week, the last time that I have available is 5 p.m. But I'll do a remote appointment at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I just made that change. So yes, I'll do one appointment after my regular duties during the day, but I'm not going to do two on site. I don't want to end up driving home at 9:30, something like that. As long as I can be home and do the remote work, I'll do that 7 o'clock. I'll take that. And also, if I want to do something personal or be off the clock, I will just put a fake appointment or just put something on my Gmail calendar that takes the time, and then that slot disappears, so a person can't make that appointment. They can't reserve that time slot. Also, I utilize the feature so that a person can't schedule an appointment for today, so I won't be caught off guard of, oh, I need to be somewhere, and maybe I
oh, look at that! I have an appointment in 15 minutes.
Oh, look at that! Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know who that's ever happened to on this show.
Oh, don't even start, Jeff.
So I learned that very quickly, to make sure the soonest time that somebody can schedule an appointment is tomorrow, whenever tomorrow happens to be, and that's been not a problem. But actually, I did see somebody who was talking about on the forums, and I was going to reply to him, see if I could maybe poach a little bit from Chris. He had some virus removals and wanted to get some overflow help with that, so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Cool.
But if it's an issue of, is there too much work, I can always take the appointments off of my calendar, make those slots not available so that people can't choose them, or I can put up my own appointments, so then those slots disappear on a temporary basis if I want to actually go do something on a Friday night or have plans with the kids or something like that.
Right.
We don't do those types of things as business owners.
Yeah, what's this free time you talk about?
Right?
The free time happens between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m.
No, that's sleep time. We got to get this straight here.
That's what he means.
I can do anything I want in my dreams after work.
I clear my personal RAM.
There you go.
I do a shutdown and a restart.
Great. Well, I'll tell you guys, one of the things I started using was I started using Repair Shopper a while back, and I use that for my scheduling. I still have to manually do it. I think there are ways to make it a little more to where a customer can basically sign up and and have my slots available. It works really well for me as a single technician to be able to know what's going on in my calendar, to let my wife know so that she knows when I'm not available, when I've got to be certain places at a certain time, and so it helps her plan around those times. So I'm going to look more into if there's a way to automate it, which I'm almost sure there is. I just have to add some code to my website that basically people can sign up and set up an appointment for an open slot. I just need to figure out what that is, because that does make a lot of sense. If people can set their own appointment, then you lose that back and forth, which is good, because a lot of times, well, I'm available here, well, I'm not available then, well, I'm available then, well, I'm not available here, whatever. And so I think a lot of that makes a lot of sense. It definitely a good way to do this type of business, being a service industry.
Absolutely. And it's great when you're in the middle of something else and you just get that email notice that somebody signed up for an appointment and it took no work on your end. Actually, I'm looking on their website now and they have a referral bonus. I should have signed up for that. I could have given you that link and I could have gotten a referral bonus for everybody. All
Well,
right.
I'll tell you what, if you sign up, give us
Missed
that
out
link.
on that.
I'll add it to the show notes when I post the show.
All right.
There you go. That's how giving we are here.
I missed out.
So let's go back into talking about time management. You know, when we're talking about dealing with customers and how to make sure there can be let me put it this way. I'm the type of person who is very intricate in how I set things up. So therefore, a lot of times I will spend more time setting things up than I will get things done. So I had to learn in my computer repair business of how to manage my time a little bit better so that I could basically get as many customers in at one time as I could and be able to turn them around fast, or within a reasonable amount of time, whether it's super fast or not, or whatever. But I had to figure out how to do that. And I'll tell you some of the things I ran into. This is how I would run my shop. I'd get a computer in. They'd sign the document that said basically I'm not responsible for anything from the Technibble Business Kit, and it works beautifully. And I would take the computer to my shop and I would start pulling it apart, figuring out what was wrong with it. I had to stop myself because I was losing myself in the ability to not have all the information readily available when I needed it, and I kept going back and doing steps A when I really should have been on step E. And so I had to stop myself. Now when I take a computer in, I'm using Repair Shopper, and basically what I'm doing is I'm going in, I'm putting all the information for that computer in. Whether it be remote service, because I can do it right at my computer while I'm remoting into the customer's computer, or whether I'm doing it here on site in my shop. So when I'm doing that stuff, I make sure that I get all the stuff together so that as I'm working on a machine, number one, I can let the customer know what's going on. So this has helped me a lot because I don't always have to call the customer. Here's what's going on. I just send them updates. Here's a diagnosis. They get an email. Great. They look at it. They get, okay, here, I found this. Here's what we need to do. Okay, they send me an email back saying, yeah, go ahead, get it done. I get it done. Okay, your computer's done. Come, give me a call when you want to pick it up. So it takes a lot of the onus off of me as far as time management. Even though I have to stop and put all that information in the beginning, it helps me in the end when I'm communicating with the customer instead of having to pick my phone up all the time and call them. So I've avoided a lot of that. So that's one of the things that I've done in my business, over the past few months to make my time a little bit better, managing my time. Chris, how do you manage your busy schedule?
Well, I schedule everything. So, if I have to pick up my kids from school, I have a schedule for that on my calendar. If I'm supposed to have dinner with my fiance, I have that on my calendar. And then I get email pop-ups on my phone because otherwise I just wouldn't be able to live. And that's it. Really, it's all about scheduling and, getting your personal schedule onto your calendar as well, because once you get busy enough that you have to worry about whether or not you remembered to pick up your kids, that's when
that would be bad.
Right. Because, and I'll look at the time, and it happened like twice. I looked at the time and it's like, oh, crap, I got to leave. I have to pick them up in like 5 minutes, right? So rather than putting a danger on that, I just make sure that all that's in there. And that works really well for me. I know that there are a lot of people that can't do that, and there are a lot of people who just simply can't schedule their personal lives, and those are the people that need to put the extra money aside to hire extra work so that you don't have to work after a certain time. It all depends on the person. But for me, that's it. I just schedule everything. I make sure everything's on the calendar that I want to get done in the day so that when the time comes, I can do it. Cool.
Rob, is there anything else you have to add to that as far as, anything that in particular as far as your scheduling and stuff that you found have been beneficial to you besides using this, web-based software?
No, I would agree with Chris. I schedule everything, not only personal appointments, to make sure to do specific recurring things that I have with my kids and with my family, but also on the business side, I take care of a lot of my administrative tasks on Sunday evening. So later
Yep.
tonight, because today's Sunday when we're broadcasting this, I have several recurring tasks that I'm going to do, not only within QuickBooks, which I'm using, but also I send out thank you notes to all of my customers from the previous week, and I customize it for them, so it relates to the task that we worked on, and I check in with them not only to make sure everything is good, but also kind of that customer touch to make sure I stay in the front of their mind the next time they have a problem, that they remember to call me. So it costs a few dollars and it takes a little bit of profit, but I think that's a marketing and that's a goodwill expense. So that's one of many administrative tasks that I just keep on my schedule, and I happen to be doing them on Sunday nights.
That's a great tip, because that is definitely something I did not really think about. I don't really schedule my administrative tasks. I just, when I have an open slot and I feel like sitting down and doing it, that's the time that I deal with those things. But if you're scheduling them, and I still get mine done, but it's just, sometimes...
You never get it done. If you don't make time, it's never going to happen.
No, that's exactly it. If you wait until you feel like doing paperwork, there's going to be a giant stack of paperwork sitting on the desk. And I know that if I didn't schedule the time when the invoices are done at the end of the week, they wouldn't get done. Mind you, I had the flu this weekend, so I was that got done a little late. But hey, Tuesday, okay, you know what? I have to schedule time on Tuesday because the invoices haven't been done. And if I hadn't done that, we're Sunday, I would have had 2 weeks worth of invoices to send out tonight.
Right. Now again, I'm not talking about those types of things, because actually Repair Shopper pretty much deals with all that stuff for me. What I'm talking about is things like tweaking your website, checking your Google AdWords, different things that you do on a periodic basis, but to actually schedule time on a more regular basis to be able to do that type of stuff actually makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
And it's just something that I really never thought of when it comes to that. As far as the business, my paperwork for my business, that just happens. That's not a problem. But there are other things that, I might wait 6 months to actually sit there and tweak something on my website, when I could have been looking at it on a, maybe even on a monthly basis, and, reassessing it to see if I needed to change something or if I needed to make some adjustments. And if you don't, the thing is, the reason it's only every 6 months is because I don't actually schedule time for that type of stuff. So, or coming up with a coupon for my customers, getting all that set up and saying, hey, I'm going to make a coupon for this month, or during this holiday season or whatever. I think about it, but I have never scheduled the time to sit down and actually do it.
Yeah, so put it on the calendar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a saying there about failing to plan and planning to fail.
Yep, absolutely.
That might be applicable here.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's tough, especially when you're a one-man shop. I mean, there gets to be a lot of things where, and let's face it, there are things that you'll do in the beginning you will not be able to keep up with. So you have to, my whole plan is to put things in place so that I can keep up with those things in some form or fashion. But it's just like even with podcasting, it's hard to keep that personal touch once you get to a certain size and being inundated with stuff. But if you schedule time for taking care of these things, and getting as much personal touch with your customers as you can, that will definitely go a long way.
And I mean, you're saying that, like, hey, when you get to be too big, having that personal touch is not is really difficult. It is really difficult unless you have a process in place for it,
right.
And that's the important part. And I just threw a link into the Hangout and into the chat for Constant Contact. And it just looking at the conversation that we were having about thank you notes. You want to send a thank you note to every single client, and you want to personalize that thank you note. You can absolutely do that if you have 100 tickets in a week, that becomes very difficult to write out each and every one of those.
Right.
So setting something up through something like Constant Contact, and I know there are other ones out there, but Constant Contact is the one that I use. I'm really happy with it. You can schedule the Constant Contact.
Uh-oh, Chris, I think we're losing you there.
Uh-oh. Am I back?
Okay, you're back.
Okay. So, you can go into something like Constant Contact or MailChimp or whatever and schedule, okay, here's all the customers that I've done work for this week.
No, we're still losing you. You're sidelining.
And this is a wired connection. A wired connection on a business line. And I think it's snowing. I think it's snowing. Perfect.
Are your lines on the wires?
Everything's buried. Everything's buried.
Then
anyway,
the snow wouldn't have anything to do with that.
I'm going to try to get this out before I get cut off. So, I would use Constant Contact for something like that. Put those 100 people in a campaign and say, hello, customer name. Thank you so much for blah, 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 blah. Right? And you can have all of those variables automatically fill in for that customer so that they get that thank you note at the end of the week. But you're not writing out 100 emails. Anything that you do to personalize your contact with your client can more or less be done through those types of tools.
Right.
And as you get bigger, I think it's important to remember that, hey, you know what? I did all of these things for my customers when there was only 10 of them. But, now there's 100, and I don't want to lose that. So you have to start investing in tools. You have to start investing in your infrastructure to get yourself to the point where you can still get that same one-on-one level of customer service that they came to expect from you and why they're using you in the first place.
Right, because and this is the importance of having, like you said, having something in place. And Repair Shopper, when I log the computer in, I invoice the customer pays me, it's all, the invoice is done. 2 weeks later, they will get an automated email with a message that I put in there, basically saying, hey, appreciate your business. If there's anything else we can help you with, let me know. And it's amazing the responses I get back of people going, man, my computer works great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And then, same thing. There's an automated response that goes out 3 months later after that initial 2 weeks.
Yep.
Same thing. And I get responses from people going, hey, my computer's still working great. Thank you. Thank you so much. No problem. And so, yeah, just keeping it in the forefront, because what I've learned is a lot of people have actually misplaced or lost my business cards. So it was the thank you notes that I sent in the mail, the little postcard where they had the information and then they contacted me again, or it's this email that goes out on a semi-regular basis where they go, oh yeah, and with my number and everything on it so that they can get in touch.
Yeah, and that's that's a great way of getting your repeat business. It's a great way of keeping your customers, in contact with you, right? So that they're thinking, oh yeah, that Jeff guy, he was pretty good. I should probably hang on to his stuff. Maybe I should save this email, right? And they'll be able to contact you through it. It's one of the reasons why I was really pushing all of my clients into do some newsletters. And if you have a very small list, just do it in Outlook. If you have a bigger list, use something like Constant Contact or something else, and just keep in contact with those customers. And if you can schedule an email to go out at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of 3 months, just to be like, hey, just want to let you know, I want to know how you're doing. You're important to me.
Right.
That makes the customer feel great. And automating that doesn't make it any less personal. It's completely personal. You're still making sure that customer's getting it. But you're in a much better time management position. If you're automating an email going out to everybody that you've done work for in the last 3 months, I'm sorry, I could not imagine doing that. I'm doing almost 100 tickets a week.
Right, exactly.
I could not, take 3 months of that and write in an email for every single one of those customers. It's just not something that could be done.
Right, absolutely. Rob, anything else to add as far as time management?
No, I definitely agree with Chris. I use Postable for sending the cards to my customers. Costs a couple bucks, and if you're worried about the cost, then raise your prices by $2. But
there you go.
But if they flip it around, they're going to see it comes from a website. But I think it's a great way to to reach out and kind of have that touch and feel with the customer. And I'll share you a story. I was working with a customer, and he needed some help with his audio ports. He was having trouble, and he was actually doing French lessons because he and his wife are traveling to France in the spring. And so I helped them and fixed his audio problems. And the end of the week came, and I was doing the thank you note for him. I quickly took all my text and I plugged it into Google Translate and translated it to French and translated it back to English to make sure it still made sense, and it did. So I copied and I pasted my French text onto his thank you card, and I sent that to them. And when they received it a few days later, it made all the world. It made a world of difference to them. That not only would I send them a thank you note, but I did it in French, and they thought that was one of the most touching and very sincere and funny things. So I have a lifelong client with them. So I think building that relationship, showing the appreciation, is key. Because if it weren't for them, then we wouldn't be in this business.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. That's cool. It's those little personal things that definitely help the clients remember who you are and that you're interested in more than just their money. You're interested in helping them with their with their computer solutions. Very cool.
That's an amazing story.
It is. I like that. I like that. So hopefully it gives people something to think about. And definitely check into some of these services we've talked about today, and let people know. Just give them a try. Most of these services will have a 30-day free trial, and you've heard from people that are using some of these services and they're working great. And step your business up a little bit. I love what Rob said, and because the thought came to my mind, but I didn't want to be rude. No, I'm just kidding. If you're worried about the cost, raise your rates by a couple bucks. I absolutely concur with that, because build it in your profit. You really need. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's part of what we do. And if you're not in front of the computer, or if you're not in front of the customer, they're just going to find somebody else that they Google. You want to keep those customers forever, so build that into your costs, and that's what I've done. I've had to change some of my pricing, as everybody knows, and therefore I have less business, but I'm more relaxed and much happier. So. Oh,
for sure, yeah, and I mean it's tools like this that you're exactly right. People are like, oh well, is it really going to be worth the cost? Should I really be spending that? You know what? For the couple of bucks that it's going to cost you to really reach out and make yourself more personable and bring you in more business, you're going to make that money back. So,
absolutely.
And if you're looking at it and you're really thinking, yeah, I should probably add $2 onto my pricing, so that I can make up for this cost, your pricing's already too low anyway, and you need to sit down and actually reflect on that. There's no reason why you can't spend $2 for every payment that you take to make more money. You should be able to afford that.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people don't really have the they don't really know the cost of doing business necessarily when you start off in this business, because we do it for friends and family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you start to legitimize your business and you start to pay things like, I don't know, government taxes, any of your marketing costs as far as whatever you're using for marketing, those are all costs built in. Your time, your wear and tear on your vehicle, all these things have to be factored in, which most people, especially in the computer repair field, we don't. We just go out, fix the problem, and we feel happy with that, and we move on. But the reality is, you have to start counting some of these things to make it more feasible for you to do over the long haul, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get to a point, like I've said before, where if you're not making a decent amount of money, now just again, it's not about becoming a millionaire or anything like that, because you're in the service industry. Unless you're doing franchises, which you absolutely probably could, but you're not going to be. That's not what I'm talking about. But you have to be able to justify, I am worth this much, per hour, per day, whatever.
Yeah.
Especially when you're living at it. A lot of us are doing it part time, which is fine. But I know personally I have a goal to move this to a full time thing, and so therefore I am setting things in place right now so that there's a smooth transition going from my 9 to 5 to full-time business or computer repair. And so that's why I'm setting things up now. That's why I'm spending a little bit of money.
Yeah.
When you're spending the money, understand you're not going to see a return on investment immediately. And what I tell people is try something small, but do it for 6 months. And then if you absolutely don't see anything from that, then try something else until you nail the one thing that's going to help you become more efficient or help you retain your customers better. So those are the things I look at. Anyone else? Any closing remarks?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, and any investment that you make in your business, whether it be something for advertising or something for, tools or whatever, you're not going to see an immediate return.
Right.
And for most things, there are exceptions, obviously.
Sure.
But, like the $20 a month, spent on a, newsletter platform. That sounds, oh, great, that's $20 a month that I don't have anymore. Well, yeah, but then, 6 months down the road, when you throw out this newsletter that gets you like $800 worth of business that you wouldn't have had, so everything does pay off on the long run, and where it comes in is whether or not you have picked the right tool in the first place and whether or not you're willing to work the tool.
Right. Absolutely.
And also do the math. If you're going to spend $20 a month, 6 months, $120, that's essentially one client. So
right.
if you get one callback or you get one new client or one referral, you've paid for it. And even if you can't have a tangible result like that of ROI, you've built up that relationship and that appreciation with your existing customers, and they appreciate your content.
Yep, absolutely.
Or you need to learn how to write them. A poorly written newsletter isn't going to bring you anything either. I've done it.
Okay, so now you open the can of worms.
What?
No, what I would say is, listen, yes, poorly written as far as, maybe not, it looks like a kindergartner wrote it type thing, but I tend to, the types of newsletters or things that impact me more are the simplified, get the message across. I don't need a big, long, drawn-out story of, all the, hundreds of things that are going on. Just give me a simple paragraph blurb, and I'm more than happy with that. And it makes number one, I'm going to read it because I'm going to have time to read a paragraph versus a whole page. Number two, I'm probably going to remember it because I was able to read it. There's a lot of times where if there's a page newsletter, I might read the beginning and go, yeah, that's cool, and I delete it right away. So I never get all the content anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming if I'm like that there's a lot of people that that are like that to a certain extent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people are like that. I mean, you should have seen the first draft of the very first newsletter that I ever wrote. I had somebody proofreading it. They're like, this is way too long, and it was like 2 pages. So you gotta, or your newsletter just being a video, which I had a lot of great responses from that. So there's you got to play around with it, and you got to really see what your customer base enjoys. My clients and the people on my newsletter are computer repair business owners. There are certain things that they're looking for in a newsletter and certain things that they're looking for in the information that I'm providing them that just simply isn't what a end user would be looking for.
Right.
Whereas I might be saying, hey, crypto wall is this huge thing that's coming out, and here's the type of things that you can do to help protect your customers. Whereas if I were to send that to an end user, it would be a lot more along the lines of, hey, crypto wall is this huge thing, and here's what we can do to help you. So you really need to focus which customers you have, make multiple groups if you need to between business and residential customers, so you're sending them the right information, but just keep doing it, right? And you need to schedule that. Like, schedule yourself, like a half hour twice a week to, write your newsletter, perfect your newsletter, and then send it out. And really, that's the type of thing where you're going to spend very little time doing it, and maybe you do it once a month, once a week, whatever. You're going to spend very little time doing it, and it's going to bring you so much more business. And that's where a lot of people start getting lost in time management, is they sink all of their time into getting customers the wrong way. They'll spend 12 hours getting one customer, whereas they really should have been spending 1 hour getting 12 customers.
Right.
And I think a lot of people get really stuck on that.
Good point. Very good point. I like that. All right. Well, I think we are. This is definitely a full show, and we answered a lot of emails, and we also talked a lot about time management. Rob, where can people find you at?
People can find me on my website. You can schedule an appointment if you want to, or you can I just had to get that in. Or they can just send me an email. I have a contact form at sohotechcolumbus.com. My phone number is on there as well if you want to send me a text or actually give me a call.
Very good. All right, and Chris, where can people find you at?
So you can go to my website, rstechteam.com. You can email me, info@rstechteam.com, or you can give us a call at 866-568-2813.
Very cool. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming on the show today and sharing with us. I definitely appreciate it. Something you guys can come check out here is Ken Dwight, the Virus Doctor. He's doing a free 2-part webinar on advanced virus removal techniques for Podnutz on February 4th and the 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I believe those are Wednesdays. If you want to hear, I did an interview with Ken over at Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, number 107. Go check that out. And he's doing some special things for us there. So if you're even remotely interested in stepping up your game on advanced virus removal, definitely check it out. Number one, it's free. Number two, it'll give you an insight to some good information. I learned a couple things out of there that I was not aware of, and I've been doing this for a long time. So again, I'm one of those people that can always learn something new. You guys can also find me on the Google Plus at Jeffery Halash or Twitter at TechNutPC. You can leave a voicemail at our call-in line here, 1-888-697-0162. And if you're a computer repair tech and would like to be a guest on Podnutz Daily, email me at podnutzdaily@podnutz.com. If you'd like to feature your product or service on this show, email me at podnutz@podnutz.com. And if you guys could, please leave us a rating and review over on iTunes. I know some of you absolutely do use iTunes, so go ahead and do that. I would appreciate that. You can also help support the Podnutz Network the next time you're shopping at Amazon. Go to podnutz.com/Amazon. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. All right.
I forgot there was no music. I was getting ready to dance.
I know. It messed up my recording that one time, so since I'm not pulling stuff down and I don't have everybody separated on separate channels, I nixed that because it made it difficult for me to blend the two when I messed up. So.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed the show today. It was definitely chock full of information again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming out and sharing about, again, it was great that you brought a subject of time management. That was good.
Yeah.
Because me and Chris, we're scratching our heads going, I don't know, what are we talking about this week? I don't know, what are you talking about?
I emailed you and you never replied back, so I figured we were just going to wing it.
Jeff.
If I didn't reply back, I must have missed it because I thought I had replied back to that one. But
Jeff.
Or I might not have had anything and said, yeah, I don't know. But I usually do reply back to all emails. But this is my point. It's getting to the point where there's a lot coming in, so which is good. I like emails. I don't mind setting things up. Looking at the chat room here. Hey, do me a favor, Rob, when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Send me that link via email so I make sure that I have the right affiliate link for you because there were several in there and I'm not sure I got the right one. So.
Oh yeah. All right, I'll send that to you now.
And then what I'll do is I'll add that to the show notes. And then Chris, I still have your contact newsletter link in there also. So if you have any changes or anything on that, let me know.
Cool. Yeah. No, it's the same one.
Cool.
And actually, I was looking at it. It looks like Constant Contact made that link of mine a 60-day trial, so you get 2 months.
Oh,
which is kind of cool.
Okay.
I'm really happy with that.
Okay, cool.
Chris, do you use that for all of your existing people? Do you send notes afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm white label, so it's very different, where I'm not really in contact with the end user. I'm more in contact with the business owner.
Yeah.
But it is something that I've helped somebody set up where they basically have a recurring campaign, and the campaign is basically a general thank you note with some space to put some specific specific things for that customer. And then they just send them out at the end of every week for every job that's done, so that they can get feedback and keep in contact with the customer.
Does that go by email or is that a postcard?
Goes by email.
Okay. All right. I like Postable. It's actually a physical thank you card that goes through the mail, and it's $2 or $3, something like that, depending on what fancy options you choose. But
Yeah.
I have kind of a stock 4 or 5 sentences, and I customize it based on whatever I worked with on the person.
Hey, send me a link for that one too. And then also, Chris, don't you have a link for Constant Contact that you an affiliate link?
Yeah, that's the one that I put in the chat.
Is that the same one that we put in the show notes? Is that the one, or is that that's for your newsletter, right?
The one that you put in the show notes is for my newsletter, so that people can sign up for my newsletter. And
you want the affiliate link in the show notes, is what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead and send me an email with that in there, and I will add that to the show notes also.
Oh, I'd love to, but from the sounds of it, you don't check your emails, so.
I check my emails hourly, unfortunately. Actually, my phone goes off all the time. So I recorded cool little messages. So now when I get an email from Podnutz, it goes, email from Podnutz. or when I get one from my business, it's email for TechNut.
You get hired with a voice like that.
I'm telling you, man. I made some ones. Well, I had some generic ones, and what was happening was, because I have 7 different email addresses, I had to differentiate them somehow. So I did.
That sounds like it may have been a good idea. Sounded like a good idea at the time, but it may not be good. Many years ago, when I had my TomTom GPS, I found a way that you can record your own custom voice. If you didn't want to pay the $5 for the Yoda or Darth Vader or
right.
people giving you directions, so I recorded my son, and he was I don't know, 7 at the time, and there were only 60 different commands of ahead or turn left or 100 feet, things like that. And I recorded him doing all of them, and I spliced it all together, and I listened to the directions one time, and I realized I don't want to listen to my son giving me directions in the car. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but no, I'm done.
Well, us podcasters, we're arrogant, so I actually like the sound of my own voice.
Nice.
Wow. I mean, I'm conceited, but wow.
Hey, I'm just being honest. I'm just being transparent here. Can I
oh, dear.
That's good. Hey, guys, I got to go. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Hey, Rob, we'll hook up later. We still on for 8 o'clock?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, we'll see you then, bud.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, Chris, now that all the riffraff is gone.
What happened to your camera?
My camera's still on. What are you talking about?
No, it's not. I'm staring at a Podnutz logo.
Oh, really? That's weird.
Yeah.
My camera's still flipping back and forth between you and me. That's weird.
That's messed up. That's probably me. It seems like I'm having all the technical problems today.
You're having some technical issues there. So, anyways, what types of have you been playing any video games, or have you been too busy?
No, I've been making time. So I've been playing some Dragon Age because I actually got Dragon Age Inquisition for Christmas.
Ooh. I like it.
Well, I haven't played it yet because I was on the final boss for Dragon Age, the first one, and my save games were corrupt, and I wasn't backing up my save games at the time. I think I told you about this. So I have to play through all the way through 1 all over again, and then play through 2 before I can play Inquisition. So I have no idea. Well, dude, what? I don't have that much time. I have been able to play the new Smash Brothers because we got that for Christmas as well.
Oh, nice.
I've played that with the kids, and that's been a lot of fun.
Classic game. It's still a great fighting game.
Right. Yeah, and it is, and the new one is amazing because we have the amiibos as well. So we've been training our amiibos to fight each other.
What is an amiibo?
So the amiibo is actually. Hold on. Give me a second.
He's gonna. I'm thinking amoeba. What is an amoeba? But an amiibo, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. I am there. Oh wait, that's not. Hold on. I'm coming.
We just love staring at your blank chair, anyways. So as long as I'm talking,
probably looks
be up on the
probably
screen.
looks better
there
than
you come.
having me here anyway.
Wait a minute. Wait. Are you in your pajamas?
No.
Wait a minute. What are you wearing?
What? Pants.
I'm sorry, this is kind of getting a little weird, but those look like pajama pants to me.
They weren't pajama pants. All right.
Go ahead.
So that's one.
That's Mario.
So yeah. And that was Yoshi. We have a bunch of them. We have like Link and Princess Zelda. Anyway, and what it is, it uses near field, I think, for RFID. But you touch it to the Wii U controller, and then it reads the amiibo, which are these guys.
Okay.
That's near it, and it does different things for the games. So the other game that we got was the new Zelda game, the Hyrule Warriors.
Oh, nice.
And what the amiibos do for that is that once per day you can take up to 5 amiibos and tap it to your controller from the main menu, and the 5 amiibos give your characters a gift. So you get extra resources by doing that. And then Smash Brothers, the figures basically set themselves up as an AI, and you can level them up, and you can change their stats using different items so that they become stronger, and then you fight them.
Nice. Okay.
So they have that, and then finally on Mario Kart, it unlocks stuff, but we don't know what it does yet because we haven't done it yet.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we've been playing around with that a lot. And I've been playing WoW. I'm up to 98, level 98 now.
I don't like WoW.
I know you don't.
They're a horrible cable company.
What?
I'm just kidding. That was my service provider before I became Comcastic. It stands for Wide Open West.
That's great.
On their trucks, all you see is WoW, though. You don't see Wide Open West.
You know what, though? I'm at level 98 now, and I have until mid-January to get to level 100 and do a raid that gives me a special Corgi mount.
That sounds like a dog mount.
It is.
Okay.
It's a molten... Just by logging in, you get a pet that can follow you around, and then there's a specific mount that there's a time limit on how long you have until you can get it, and you have to beat a specific raid, which is like a 25 player dungeon, basically, where all 25 of you go in at the same time, and
I have pets that follow
work
me
together.
Around. They're called kids.
Yeah, well, I do too, but they're not in my game.
Oh.
That's not right, Jeff. You shouldn't call your kids pets.
But they are. Go do this. Go do that. And they, you know what? They comply. Anyways, I have been.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, I have been playing a little bit of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And
Good.
Good game. Because I had to restart that. I had the same problem. I destroyed my account on my drive for whatever reason, because the Ubisoft account, not the Steam account, but it didn't save it in Steam. It saved it in Ubisoft, so I'm having to start over. But there are some controls that I wasn't aware of when I played through the first time. So I've gotten some things in the beginning of the game, the kind of tutorial portion that has helped me to basically better understand the controls, and I'm able to do a lot cooler things now. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I was wrong. I have until January 6th, so apparently I have to start moving.
Whoa.
And it is a Corehound pet, or a Corehound mount.
Okay.
And
Not a
it
corgi.
looks, it's not a corgi, it's a Corehound mount.
Gotcha.
And it is an awesome looking, like, lava two-headed dog.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's
Here, hold
nothing
on.
like a corgi, I can tell you that.
No, that's nothing like a corgi. The corgi was the pet, and I got that already. If you, I just put up a link in the chat, and if you click on it, it'll pull up the it'll pull up a screenshot of what the thing looks like.
Oh, that looks bad.
Yeah. So you ride around on that thing.
Oh, because the lack of exercise you're getting from walking around. Oh wait, you just sit in a chair and walk around.
No, Jeff, what? No, you move faster when you're on a mount.
I know.
What's wrong with you?
I used to play EverQuest. I know these
Okay.
things.
Well, and you
Chris-
got out. Most people don't get out.
Oh, I got out.
Yeah.
I got out before it was too late. And I'm just urging you, my friend, you might want to think about that.
You know what? I play maybe an hour a week. With the exception of this week, it's been slow enough that I've had a little bit of extra time that I've been able to, hang on. The people that I play with live here in town.
Okay, that's good.
So we actually we get together and play, and laptops are brought over, and it's a lot of fun, because we're actually playing with those people.
Right.
And then those same people, we went and did some slots after work last night, which was a lot of fun. So
Oh.
we do stuff. We do stuff outside of the game.
No, that's cool. And I will tell you this: I was always a lone warrior, so for me, or a knight or whatever, and so I didn't interact with a whole lot of people. I had my sons that would play with me or whatever, but it is a lot more interesting when you can get involved with real people playing.
Yeah. It is, and I mean, even if you can't meet those people in real life, obviously there are people that I play with that I never meet in real life because geographically that just doesn't work. But we use Vent, so we talk while we're playing, and we have a good time, and we celebrate people's birthdays, and they're real
I've never
people.
met you in real life. We're still friends.
That's true. See, you've never met me.
We're virtual friends.
That's right.
I'm sure one of these conferences coming up this year, I'm sure we'll probably bump into each other.
Well, CompTIA is having their next one in Florida in May, and then after that it'll be Chicago in August, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'll be doing some traveling, and we'll meet up. It'll happen. And then we'll recruit you into WoW, and you'll play that with us.
Yeah. You know what? Dora and I were talking the other night, though, and we did find this interesting game where and we're not sure if you can play it online or if it's, and I don't have a link for it, or you can play just networked. But basically, you have a captain, and you're on a ship like the Enterprise, and everybody has their station. So you have a science officer, and they have the screen they're looking at. Then you have the engineer, they have a screen they're looking at. Then you have the navigator, they have a screen they're looking at, so on and so forth. And so you can bark out commands. Either I don't know if it's online, you can do it over like Ventrilo or TeamSpeak or something like that. But if it's in a room, you can just kind of bark out the commands, and then they have to follow the commands. It's basic computer screens, and the game's not that inexpensive. But I thought, man, if you ever got something like that for some of these conferences, and just for some downtime, and just kind of throw that on 6 laptops, that would be a blast.
Yeah, it's I mean, well, you might have downtime as a vendor. I don't really have downtime at those conferences, but yeah.
Oh, you don't even sleep, though. I'm talking
What's
about
that?
late at night when everybody else is sleeping. You ain't got to sleep.
Oh, I was exhausted. Are you kidding me? Look, here's what would happen is they'd have like the speeches and all that. So you'd go to that and you'd sit in the what are that thing with the people teach stuff? The
Seminar?
yeah, that's thanks. Wow. Yeah, you sit in the seminars, and then you go to the meals, and you do the meet and greets, and then the booths go up, so you deal with the booth, and then after all that was done, after everything, then everybody would go to the bar. So you'd go to the bar and you'd have a couple of drinks. You'd wind up talking business over drinks, and that was pretty much the entire day. So from the time you got up until the time I went to bed, it was nothing but work for that entire time. By the time I got up to my room, I brought my laptop with me. I had a couple of games on the laptop and Netflix, and I didn't even use it. I just went to sleep.
I hear you. Hey, Marvin says we can stay with him down in Florida.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marvin. Hey, and Corn was talking about before that. He says, I'm hesitant to play Black Flags in lieu of Desmond's story coming to an end. Thank you. Spoiler alert. Thank you very much. No,
that was announced. That's not a spoiler. That's...
I know. It has to come to an... It can only go on for so long. I think Black Flag is actually... It's different.
Black Flag, yeah. Black Flag was a lot of fun, but you're right. It's a very different gameplay from what most would be used to as far as Assassin's Creed. Like, it still has the parkour and it still has all of that, but like the whole controlling the ship in the first place, that's it's different.
Actually, inside the game, inside the Animus, it's the game's pretty much the same. Doing the ship, that's actually more realistic than what I imagined, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's the outside the Animus game that has changed a little bit, and I've only gotten to, I don't know, I was maybe 60%, 70% in, something like that.
I won't ruin it for you then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's like a video game company. I understand there's some nefarious things going on in the background. I get all that, but I'm interested to see where the story goes, and that's really why I play video games a lot of times. It's really about the story.
Yeah.
I don't play video games just to necessarily just level up or just to test my reflexes. But a lot of times, unless I'm playing like a first-person shooter like Battlefield 4. But other than that, I like single-player storylines. They've got to be good in order to keep my attention. So.
Awesome. Oh, wow, it's almost 6 o'clock. I got to go.
I got to go, too. I think. Hold on one sec. I think we're gonna stop the broadcast, so we'll say see you guys next week, Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.